Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something I know a lot of you have been waiting for, cards in 9 kings. Now, if you've been around the game for a bit, you probably already know that each king has 9 unique cards. And yeah, that's a lot of options to play around with. The catch, you can only get these cards by either playing as that king or going up against them in the previous year. So yeah, you better keep track of who you're fighting because your future deck might just depend on it. Now here's the fun part, no card in 9 kings is actually useless, seriously. Some might look a bit meh at first glance, but in the right situation, they can completely flip the match in your favor. Of course, some cards are just straight up easier to use and slot into more builds without much effort. Those are the ones you'll see pop up more often, and today's list is all about that mix. How strong a card is when it really shines, and how likely it is you'll be able to get it to that sweet spot. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking cards in 9 kings. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The cards in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Soldier, Vault, Carnage, Procreate, and Cauldron. Oh boy, here we go. The part of the tier list where dreams go to almost die. Welcome to the C tier. These cards aren't exactly trash, but let's just say they're the you-tried participants of the 9 Kings Kingdom. They work, kind of, sometimes, but if you're looking for high-value plays, you're probably better off swiping left. Let's start with the Soldier. Yep, just Soldier. This melee unit is like that one friend who shows up to game night, doesn't win, doesn't lose, just vibes. It is not bad at anything, but it is also not good at anything. It is that middle seat on a long flight, functional, forgettable, and not exactly your first choice. Moving on to the Vault, sounds fancy, right? Sadly, it's more like a glorified piggy bank. The Vault gives you 3 extra gold each year, up to 9 gold when it is fully leveled. But when you compare it to something like stacking Midas Touch on your troops, which gives you more gold faster and without hogging a tile in your kingdom, the Vault starts looking more like a budgeting app than an actual strategy. Next up, Carnage. The name promises chaos, but the reality is more of a minor inconvenience to your enemies. When one of your units dies, it explodes and deals area of effect damage equal to 10% of its health. That's cool in theory, especially for niche builds, but in most cases, there are far better and faster ways to deal explosive area of effect damage. Carnage is like trying to use a firecracker when everyone else has fireballs. Now let's talk about Procreate. And no, not that kind of Procreate. Get your head out of the tavern. This one just adds 9 units to a target, which sounds decent. But let's be real, a farm is just a much more sustainable and strategic option. Sure, it takes up a tile, but it keeps working every turn instead of being a one-time baby boom. And finally we have the Cauldron. Spooky, right? It lets adjacent attacking forces apply 1 stack of poison every time they strike. If you are running a full poison-themed build, this can be a decent little support building. But outside of that very specific scenario, there are plenty of other buildings that offer stronger, more universal buffs. It's like bringing a potion to a sword fight. Charming, but kind of a waste of space. So yeah, the C tier. Not terrible, not terrific. These cards might have their moments, but more often than not, they are the bench warmers of your deck. Use them if you must, but do not say I did not warn you. The cards in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Castle, Archer, Offering, Spire, Imp, Vampirism, Mangler, Cemetery, Orchard, Poison Vial, Trapper, Warmaker, Mothership, Concabulator, and Reinforce. You know that feeling when you open a booster and go, okay, I guess this could work. Maybe if the stars align and I make a blood pact with RNG. Yeah, welcome to the B tier. These cards are not bad per se, they just don't hit the same heights unless you build your entire kingdom around their quirks. So let's dive into this wonderfully weird pile of almost great cards and see which ones might secretly be your next obsession. Let's start with Castle. This one's got a decent area of effect attack, and when you throw some buffs its way, it can absolutely pop off. The issue? There are other cards that get to that level of damage a lot easier. Castle's like the kid at the science fair with a decent volcano, but standing next to a kid who built a working robot. Not bad, just not that impressive. Next up is Archer. Oh, Archer, you hyper little troublemaker. This unit fires fast, really fast, perfect for stacking enchantments like poison or fire or whatever weird build you're going for, but take away the enchantments and they fall aloft compared to other ranged units. Basically, they're great at parties, but not ideal in a bar fight. Moving on to Offering. This one's a gamble. You destroy a tile and in return get free random tome cards. It's like trading a goat for a mystery box. Sometimes you get gold, sometimes you get free copies of Wet Socks Vol. 2. Great when you're lucky, but don't count on it in a high stakes match. Spire is the healer of the group. Constantly topping up your troops during a battle can be a lifesaver early on. But as the game progresses and enemies start dealing cartoonishly high damage, your poor little spires start wheezing. They can be good, but you'll probably need to sacrifice offensive options to make them shine. Say hello to Imp. Imps are adorable, fodder but adorable. Their main value is feeding your demon altars. Outside of that, they're kind of like empty calories, filling space but not doing much else. Still, if you're doing it full demon altar mode, these guys are your bread and butter, or maybe your sacrificial toast. Now let's get a little edgy with vampirism. This enchantment heals a unit for a percentage of the damage it deals. Sounds cool, right? Except the units that deal massive damage usually don't have much health to begin with. So unless you're running a very specific build, this card is more goth aesthetic than actual utility. Time to talk about the chaos machine known as Mangler. Manglers consume their neighbors, literally, sacrificing adjacent units to level themselves up. With the right setup, say a farm and a few imps or lab rats nearby, Manglers can become terrifying. But it's not an easy setup, and sometimes the cost isn't worth the chaos. Cemetery has a simple gimmick. When an adjacent unit dies, it spawns an imp. It sounds kind of morbid, but in the world of Nine Kings, that's just good business. It's not amazing on its own, but if you're all in on Demon Altar shenanigans, Cemetery can double your sacrificial income. Efficient and slightly spooky. Next is Orchard. Early on, this card is lovely. It stops a few enemies and deals damage. Super handy. But by the time you're dealing with enemy armies the size of a Black Friday crowd at a mall, Orchard's tiny hold-up doesn't cut it. Cute? Yes. Clutch? Not so much. Let's sprinkle some poison with Poison Vial. This enchantment adds 1 stack of poison every time the unit attacks. Alone, that's barely a nuisance. But stick it on a unit with absurd attack speed, say Archer, and suddenly you've got yourself a slow burn murder machine. Great in the right hands, meh in the wrong ones. Trapper is your backline insurance policy. They place traps that persist between years, meaning the first time the enemy breaches your kingdom's soft underbelly, boom, they're in for a surprise. But after that initial trigger, the traps are spent, and so is their value. Still, it's a fun one-time party trick. Now let's build some walls, literally, with Wallmaker. They surround your kingdom with a defensive wall that slows down enemies. Problem is, that wall isn't very effective on its own. It needs a support group. In the right niche build, absolutely annoying for your enemies. Otherwise, it's just fancy landscaping. Meet the Flying Disappointment, Mothership. It's a castle, but a slightly underwhelming one. It deals some decent damage, but lacks the control and impact of higher tier castles. If this were a space movie, Mothership would be the transport shuttle, not the battle cruiser. Concabulator is weird, wonderful, and a bit of a puzzle. When it hits level 3, it levels up every other tile in your kingdom. That's a huge value swing if you can get it there. Works especially well when placed next to units like Lab Rats. It's a bit of a delayed gratification card, but very satisfying when it pays off. Finally, we've got Reinforce. Every time another tile levels up, it increases a specific unit's damage by 1%. Not huge at first glance, but stack that effect throughout the match and it can snowball. Put it on a shaman or another scaling unit and it starts to feel pretty spicy. Still, it's a bit situational and hard to build around effectively. The cards in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Paladin, Scout, Tower, Steel Coat, Citadel, Wizard, Static, Combustion, Shaman, Dispenser, Midas Touch, Overinvest, Mercenary, Pagoda, Bomber, Sacrifice, Ktrients, Mycelium, Boar, Stronghold, Trebuchet, Ballista, Flamethrower, Executioner, Labrat, Precision, Converter, Overhaul, and the Warlock. You ever stare at a card and feel like it's holding back on purpose? Like, you could be S tier if you just applied yourself a bit more? That's the A tier crew. The cards that walk among greatness, flirt with it, sometimes even brush shoulders with it at the water cooler. They're not the absolute best, but they're so close it hurts. Take the Brave Paladin for example. This chunky unit comes with a hearty health bar and more than respectable damage, making it a solid pick in all sorts of setups. They're like the Swiss Army knife of frontline units, dependable, flexible, and always ready to impress with the right support. And let's not forget the Scout Tower, a humble looking structure that turns into a pure damage dealing beast, especially if you've got a beacon or a quarry or even a blacksmith cheering it on. By the late game, this thing is basically firing laser beams out of sheer spite. Steel Coat might sound like a fashion item from a cyberpunk closet, but don't be fooled, it's a game changer. It blocks the first tick of damage your unit takes, and this effect stacks. Now throw in a library and suddenly your frontline units are doing cosplay as immortals. Then there's the Citadel. Alone, it's solid, but when placed next to a beacon, it unleashes an area of effect attack faster than expected. Pair that with the Ruthless perk and well, it has a chance to deal infinite damage. Yes, you heard me, infinite, just casually. Wizards also live in this not quite S limbo. They've got heavy hitting attacks, but they're a bit slow. Thankfully, a beacon nearby fixes that right up. Imagine Gandalf with a caffeine addiction. That's your wizard on a beacon tile. Speaking of magical mayhem, static gives your unit a basic attack that hits multiple enemies. One stack? Meh. But add a library into the mix and suddenly every swing is a small lightning storm. Thor would be proud. Combustion is an enchantment that turns your units into miniature bombs. If a unit with high damage gets a kill, combustion explodes for 20% of that unit's damage in an area around them. 1 second it's a single kill, the next it's a barbecue. Shamans don't even attack, but don't let that fool you. They boost the attack power of everyone else. Get them next to some blacksmiths and the rest of your army will be hitting like they've got something to prove. Invisible supportive power. It's like the coach who never takes the field but wins the game anyway. Now dispensers are weird. Early on, they feel useless, but in a King of Greed run, they scale like mad with how much gold you're earning. Get them early, nurture them, and by the endgame they're basically raining riches and revenge. Which brings us nicely to Midas Touch. On its own, meh, but place it next to a library and it starts printing money every time your unit lands a kill. Combine it with dispensers and mercenaries, and suddenly your economy is an unstoppable gold-spewing engine. Overinvest is like that one risky stock pick that actually paid off. Spend a little bit of gold and watch your unit or tower's stats skyrocket by a percentage. And the later the game goes, the better the return. Wall Street would be jealous. Mercenaries are melee units that, at first glance, seem pretty basic, but for every 15 gold you've got, you get an extra one. Suddenly, you're not running an army, you're running a corporate merger in full armor. Pagoda is a bit niche, I'll admit. It spawns imps. And imps, well, they're basically just snacks, but if you've got a demon altar, those little guys are perfect fodder, and over time, that adds up to real power. Quantity becomes quality. Bombers are the kamikaze kings of this tier. They're not great at first, but give them some speed from royal decrees and boost their damage and area of effect skills, and boom, literally. They'll blow up the front line and fuel your demon altars in one go. Sacrifices for those moments where you need a tile gone now. Not only does it clear a space, but it also levels up every plot adjacent to the one you yeeted. Efficient and dramatic, like spring cleaning with explosives. Treants are nature's compromise. They heal allies and hurt enemies, which gives them this lovely dual purpose flexibility. It's like having a therapist who also dabbles in MMA. Mycelium is the slow burner of towers. It plants spores every round, growing in strength the longer it's out. If you get it late, but if you grab one early, you've got yourself a fungal fortress by the time things get spicy. Borzals are wild, but literally and figuratively. Place a unit next to one and the boar buffs all its stats based on its own health. Add some forest to the boar's side and now you've got a roided out champion riding a pig into battle. As nature intended, Stronghold might feel like B tier on a bad day, but it stays in A tier because of how much value you can extract with the right buffs. It's flexible, hits where you need it to, and fits like a glove in King of Stone builds. Trebuchets are long-range chaos, but only if you've built enough supporting towers. The more structures you have, the more projectiles it fires. Get your construction game on point, and this thing becomes an artillery dream. Ballistas are hilariously slow at first, but the damage? Absolutely bonkers. You just have to be patient. Add a beacon, throw in some damage boosts, and it'll start turning enemies into distant memories. Flamethrowers bring the heat, literally. They roll in, set enemies on fire, and laugh at your enemy's armor. High base attack speed means all you really need to do is pile on the damage buffs and watch the world burn. Executioners are all about efficiency. They go straight for the lowest health target, cleaning up the scraps like a vulture with a sword. A couple of royal decrees and they zip around the battlefield like grim reapers on rollerblades. Lab rats are tiny powerhouses that level up automatically when nearby plots do. This requires planning, but if you set up a leveling loop around them, these little guys become absolute monsters. Tiny, hairy, dangerous monsters. Precision is the crit lover's dream. It makes the first hit from your unit a guaranteed critical hit, and it stacks. Stack enough of these on a hard-hitting unit and suddenly your opening salvo is a fireworks show of pain. Converters are sneaky good. They don't kill enemies, they transform them into rats. Big difference. That means even high health enemies go down instantly. No need to grind through those bloated HP bars. Overhaul is like Sacrifice's chaotic cousin. It deletes a plot and levels up 2 random ones, and each time you use it, it levels up 1 extra. Great for lab rat synergy or just rolling the dice in your favor like a mad scientist. And finally, Warlocks. Think Paladins, but with area of effect damage. That can be great or terrible depending on the situation, but either way, they make fantastic frontliners with the right health buffs. A little sparkier, a little nastier, just how we like them. The cards in this tier are in order from top left to bottom right. Farm, Wildcard, Blacksmith, Library, Palace, Beacon, Thief, Demon's Altar, Clone, Elf, Forest, Quarry, Earthworks, and Defender. You ever blink once and realize the enemy army tripled in size? Yeah, that's what happens when they're using Farm. This card boosts your total unit count on adjacent tiles every single turn. Unless you're trying to play the world's slowest siege with just Procreate, which, let's be honest, isn't exactly sustainable, Farm is basically a must-have. If you're not growing your army with farms, you're doing it wrong. Now let's talk about the wildcard, the card equivalent of that friend who says, "Don't worry, I got you." Can't get the exact tile you're looking for? Doesn't matter. Wildcard steps in, copies any tile, and saves the entire build. It's not flashy, but it's the ultimate utility player. Want a second blacksmith? Done. Need another farm? Boom. Wildcard's got your back. Speaking of support heroes, meet the blacksmith. This one buffs the damage of any unit or tower that's adjacent to it every turn. It's like your team just hit the gym and started lifting together. It may not feel broken at first, but give it 5 to 10 turns and suddenly your archers are sniping enemies across the map like they've been trained by Legolas and John Wick. Now here's a card you might not see often, but when it shows up, it matters. The Library. It's not in every build, but when you're rolling with enchantments and stacking magical nonsense, the library is the place to be. Imagine a wizard getting book after book and becoming unstoppable. That's what this card does for your enchanted units. Absolute spell-slinging mayhem. Okay, time for the king of overkill. Palace. This thing literally deletes any enemy it hits. Poof. Gone. Bye. Its attack speed is kind of like a sloth sipping tea, but once you stick a couple of beacons next to it, oh, it's over. It becomes a royal executioner with a kill list and 0 chill. Just don't blink or you'll miss the moment of glory. Speaking of beacons, these little glow sticks of doom increase the attack speed of adjacent cards, and that's not just a minor buff. Pair them with a blacksmith or quarry, and suddenly your towers and units are attacking like they just chugged 6 espressos. Damage might not look crazy at first, but faster hits mean way more pain over time. Now let's get a little sneaky with the thief. This unit doesn't just look cool, it is cool. It skips the front line and starts smacking the back line immediately. You know, the squishy enemy supports who thought they were safe. Not anymore. Give the thief some decent damage and health buffs, and you've got yourself an absolute assassin on the field. Next up, we've got the Demon's Altar, a card that feeds off your own army's death. Every time an ally bites the dust, the demons get stronger by 0.5%. It might sound small, but if you're rolling with a large unit count, thanks again farm, this turns into exponential power real quick. Basically, your demons go full anime rage mode the longer the fight drags on. And now, for another game changer, Clone. This card is the "oops, I need another one" solution. Got a killer combo but only 1 copy? Clone that thing. Want to level something up faster? Clone it. It lets you duplicate any card on the field, giving you all kinds of strategic freedom. A real build saver, especially when RNG decides to be difficult. Let's show some love to the elf too. Elves are like thieves with a bow and a personal grudge against the furthest enemy on the field. They always target the backline, which is so satisfying when the enemy hides their best cards back there. It's like elves just know who to bully. Give them some attack speed and buffs, and they'll clean house. Ah yes, the Forest. Not the most exciting card at first glance, but incredibly important. Forests increase the health of all adjacent units, and this becomes vital in the mid to late game. When the enemy starts dishing out heavy damage, you'll want your units to be tanky enough to take it. Forests are the reason your frontline doesn't melt instantly. Let me introduce you to Quarry, the unsung hero of tower-based builds. This card increases the damage of every tower in your kingdom, no matter where they are. You don't even have to think about placement, it's just a global buff. Set it and forget it. If your strategy involves towers, you're gonna want at least one Quarry on board, maybe 3. Now this one's sneaky genius. Earthworks. It removes the card on a tile and expands your kingdom to adjacent slots. But here's the kicker, you get all copies of that removed card back, 1 for each level. It's basically a free expansion tool. As long as you're not removing something that's been buffed to high heaven, you're trading up. Smart plays only. And finally, we've got the Defender. This card doesn't attack at all, which sounds weird at first, but hear me out. It reflects damage back at attackers, and it has a ton of health. Place it up front, stack a forest or spires nearby, and suddenly you've got a front line that just won't die. While the enemy bangs their head against the wall, you build up your real threats behind it. Brilliant. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.